All right, so we are live. We are going to wait a second for everything to process on all the different platforms. We started getting some people coming in. 1 second. Let me make sure we have the comments pulled up. Welcome everybody to this week's live MEC session. I think this is session number 3 or 4. Might be number 4 under our new BeatStars partnership. If you watched the online BeatStars Summit, then this is a familiar face. My guy Ali from ToneDen, co-founder of ToneDen. Welcome back. Thank you very much for joining us once again. If you did watch that session, you probably got a lot out of it. And this was already, it just so happened that the timing was also close to the conference. We already had this session planned. But I think there's more than enough stuff to talk about when it comes to marketing. So thank you for joining us once again.
Yeah, we can go on for days for sure.
Yeah, no, and I don't even know which way we want to take this conversation. I know that, I definitely want to talk about some of the tools on your platform, because there's a lot going on there. And I think just in general, when it comes to marketing, you can go so many different directions with it. And I think sometimes people, like, I was just on your site this morning, and there's a lot, right? There's a lot, so I want to try to approach it from the perspective of an artist, because a lot of the artists that watch this show, they're more in the beginning stages of their career. So they're always looking for like marketing tools, marketing strategies, and things like that. So for the I don't want to call them beginners, because they might have been making music for a very long time, but in terms of career wise, they're definitely in the earlier stages. So once they get to your site, what would your suggestion be? Actually, let's take a step back, because people don't even know. I started talking like people already got your intro, and some people, so let's just take a step back. Let people know who you are and what you do, and then we'll jump into the good stuff. My bad.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. It's Monday too, so I'm sure we could all use a little bit more caffeine. Although it is starting to get a little bit later for individuals on the East Coast. So hey everyone, thanks for joining the stream. My name's Ali. I'm the co-founder and CRO of a company called ToneDen. We make marketing tools for all creators, but we do have a big following in the music space. The way that me and 2 of my best friends from college ended up starting the site is we had a bunch of friends who were developing artists, putting out really good content on SoundCloud, but they were broke, didn't really have any marketing budget. So like, hey, how do we make sure that we're pushing our music out there, even though we don't have a lot of money to invest in marketing? And there were a few iterations of the site from an early on basis. So the first iteration was, let's just help artists get a website by syncing up their SoundCloud account. So you'd sync up a SoundCloud account, and then from there, you'd instantly have a website that you could go ahead and share with everyone in the industry. It also doubled as an EPK, an electronic press kit, although I'm not really sure if individuals use that anymore. But what we quickly realized was that everyone would give us great feedback and say, oh, Ali, this website's great. Like, I love it. Thanks again for doing it. But we'd look at the web traffic for that particular website, and we noticed that they wouldn't really share it. So we had to do a little bit of digger deeping and deeper digging. Excuse me. I think I'm becoming dyslexic. And when I hit up a few of the artists and asked, hey, why aren't you sharing your website you said was nice? They're like, hey, that's great, but we need to get more SoundCloud followers, because that's how we get more bookings, or that's how we get noticed by record labels. And we took a step back and had an epiphany where we realized that it wasn't online presentation is important, don't get me wrong, but what people really want to do is they want to figure out how to grow the music that they've worked really hard to go ahead and create. How do we get that in front of new fans? Now, I'd say, depending on where you are, and this also applies to larger artists as well, there are a number of things that you can do to grow your following that either require a paid marketing budget or don't. Now, for a developing artist, the greatest weapon or asset that you have is speed and time, right? You can go in there and knock things out in the studio and not necessarily have nearly as many creative commitments as a larger and more established artist. So the developing end, usually what I've seen work is by leveraging these open platforms like a YouTube, a SoundCloud, an AudioMac. There are even new ones coming out like an Audius, or I think Matter is like another really new streaming platform that comes out. And basically give your music out, but put it behind some kind of content gate, like a free download gate. And that's one of the free tools that we're able to provide. And I've seen this happen for tons of developing artists where they've gone ahead and put out their content for free, built out a social following, and then we're able to leverage it to get to the next step of their career. Whether that's getting a record label deal, getting a booking agent, or just becoming a little bit more known in whatever kind of niche or space or scene that they're trying to fit into to end up making money selling their beats. That's usually like step one of where I recommend artists get started, because it doesn't require budget. It just requires, time and dedication and willingness to kind of put yourself out there. Now, beyond that, and sorry to hog the mic a little bit here, Dame.
No, it's all good.
Beyond that, everyone kind of enters this like next tier of developing artists where if they do have some marketing budget available, and it doesn't necessarily need to be large, I'm talking anywhere between $3 to $5 per day. We have a number of different tools to help you grow on the platforms that matter most to you, like Spotify, like a TikTok, like a YouTube, for instance. And I think that for those kinds of tools, and I'm happy to kind of go into why I'm really bullish on a platform like Spotify, even though Spotify is getting really just tarred and feathered right now by the press for their royalty rates. It has to do a lot with how like those platforms actually work to get artists more fans. And I can go into that, but by and large, we offer a variety of tools, both free and paid, to help you grow your career. Last thing I'll say before passing it off to you, Dame, is that every kind of campaign that you create on ToneDen gives you the opportunity to remarket to fans that have interacted with those campaigns. So if someone clicks on a smart link, if someone downloads a free download, if someone clicks on an ad that was created through ToneDen, you can then put another offer in front of them, whether it's a new song, whether it's merch, whether it's a ticket to an in-person event or a live stream. And what we noticed after working with concert promoters is that everyone in the music industry makes money off of artists' data, except for artists to a certain extent. So like, let's say like, I think I used this example on Friday, but let's say Golden Voice books you and then you end up playing at the Roxy. The way that Golden Voice is making sure that people show up to your show is by targeting the people who have engaged with you on Facebook and Instagram in the Los Angeles area. Nothing's preventing you as an artist from hitting those same fans with ads, except for knowledge of how to utilize Facebook Ads Manager or having an offer to go ahead and put in front of them. So really what we're trying to do is close that gap for artists. And it was a really long answer, but hopefully that better explains who we are.
Right. No, I mean, I think that our audience knows by now that I'm really big on data and owning your data and controlling your data and making decisions based off your data. The only thing that I might have a slight difference of opinion on in terms of the order of like how they might use your tools, because, you said before they have a budget, you put something behind a gate, like, and yeah, you can create that kind of demand even like, just by the quality of your content. But some artists might need to spend a little money in Facebook advertising to create demand, because even getting somebody to press a button or to give you an email address or something like that, like if they don't know how good it is or they don't think it's good enough to give you their time or attention or their click or their email, I think so. Just for every artist, it just might be a different sequence of how you use tools depending on kind of where you're at. So for artists that do go, because you guys, you want to just kind of give an overview of like, because you guys have different tools like for contests and live streams and smart links and things like that. Can we just do an overview of like the different tools that are available?
Yeah, totally. So what we quickly realized entering the space and trying to build out tools for the music industry is that if you wanted to actually stay in business, you had to build something that has a lot of value in it. And that means really packing it in with features that everyone can realize that they need to use, right? So one of our most popular features are these universal landing pages for your releases called fan links. And these are also free, essentially. So the idea is you'll go to our service and you'll put in a link to Apple Music, or you'll put in a link to Spotify. And then what we'll do is we'll actually scan all these different streaming services that exist and create this landing page that you can go ahead and utilize for your release. So when you end up making a post on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever that platform is, when a person ends up clicking on that link, they will be presented with a list of streaming services to then go ahead and visit, wherever their preferred streaming service is. And the idea is we're going to reduce drop-off to a certain extent. Not everyone uses Spotify, not everyone uses YouTube, not everyone uses Apple Music. So by going ahead and presenting them with that option to basically stream the song how they want to be streamed on their streaming service, you end up not losing out on listeners because of it. Now, where this gets valuable, though, is it's not just about, creating this positive experience for fans where they can, listen to that song on the streaming service they prefer. A lot of it really does boil down to data collection, right? So any kind of smart link that you end up creating in ToneDen, we make it very easy to either create a Facebook pixel for you if you haven't yet, or you would just put in a Facebook pixel there, which means that anyone that clicks on that smart link on a rolling 6-month basis, you'll be able to hit with ads directly for whatever offer that you can think of. So if you want to put merch in front of them, if you want to put your next single in front of them, your next album, or a concert in front of them, you can go ahead and do that. So that's our smart link tool. I feel like I cut you off though, man. Do you have a question?
No, I was just going to also say you can edit that to include like a link to your website as well. So it's not just the streaming services. You can kind of order it how you want to, and you can put your link to your actual site in there as well. That's what we did for a recent Brandy campaign.
Totally. So that's our smart link tool, and I feel like it's been really helpful for artists because I think fans have come to expect being able to stream like the right service they want, and by offering them that option, you're going to create a better experience with them. Now, moving on from smart links, and this is actually our most popular service right now, is something called the growth, like basically the growth suite that we have. So ToneDen has its own creator-friendly version of Facebook Ads Manager, which I'll talk about in a minute. But beyond that, we've created these pre-packaged marketing campaigns to help you nail down on a specific objective. And one of the objectives that we've really honed in on is this way for you to basically build out your Spotify following. So if you think about how people grow on Spotify in general, I've really only seen 4 ways work. The first is through editorial playlists, so getting on your Rap Caviars or New Music Fridays. But that in and of itself is really challenging, and I can go into why. The second is independent playlists, whether you're going out and reaching out to these playlists individually, or you're going through some kind of PR firm or playlist aggregator site like a Submit Hub. You can then go ahead and get on these playlists that aren't owned by Spotify, but are on Spotify and are curated by humans. The third is viral marketing. So you end up having your song go viral in a TikTok sound. And the fourth is algorithmic playlists. And I've realized that after digging into each of these methods for different ways to grow on Spotify, it's really algorithmic playlists that offer the most secure and sustainable method for growth in the long term. If you think about editorial playlists in general, there's just not enough real estate to go around for every artist. If there are only 3,000 playlists, but you have 40,000 new songs being released each day on Spotify, the chances of you getting into editorial are slim, especially when the fact that there is, everyone denies it, but there's blatant favoritism between like major labels and Spotify editorial based placement. The major labels just control too much content out there anyways.
For sure.
The second is independent playlisting. And I want to talk a little bit about this because people are obsessed with independent playlisting right now. I think there's a huge demand for it. And if you were to type out something like a Spotify playlist submission, for instance, you would be inundated with ads on both Facebook, Instagram, and even Google of like all these really dodgy playlist promo companies. And their whole pitch is, look, we're going to go ahead and get you on Spotify playlists to boost up your stream counts. And what ends up happening is you might end up getting those streams, but when you end up looking at the fans also like section in Spotify, those streams aren't really real. Like they're coming from, either countries where you've got a lot of bot farms, or on the off chance that those streams are real, they usually end up going away because there just wasn't really an affinity for you as an artist with that fan in the first place. They were just interested in a couple of streams on that particular single. And I think it's important to talk about this whole like independent playlisting marketplace. I call it Playola because Spotify's cracking down on it too, right? Like if you think about it, Spotify is legally obligated to pay on these streams that end up occurring on an account because they need to pay you anytime your music's listened to. And
Right.
if they are giving people money that shouldn't be given to them, that's money out of their pocket. And that may have been okay-ish if they're a private company, but they're a publicly traded company now. Dailymix getting murdered by Wall Street analysts every 3 months. So he's got to make sure that every single dollar that Spotify spends is accounted for on that end. And the reason why I'm harping on independent playlist guys is mainly because I think that there's a comparable alternative that you can use to grow without necessarily risking your entire Spotify account or needing to deal with these like dodgy playlisting companies that are just looking for a quick buck. Now, the third is TikTok. I won't go into that too much, except for the fact that it's like trying to catch lightning in a bottle in terms of engineering a viral hit. And I think a lot of us here on this call are priced out, right? So major labels can get a little bit lazy when it comes to marketing strategies. And because they can't market as much through touring right now, a lot of that budget that may have gone towards like, I don't know, ancillary like radio spends or billboards during a tour to market a release are instead just being spent on TikTok trying to go ahead and market these challenges. So some of these larger TikTok influencers will say, look, I'll start a challenge for you, but it's going to cost anywhere between $5,000 to $30,000. So if you got that kind of cash lying around, great, go for it.
Right.
But most of us don't. And the last method, and this is the method I'm most bullish on, and thanks for letting me just rattle on here, Dame. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's all good.
Our algorithmic playlists, and this is what I'm most bullish on. So these are the 2 billion plus playlists on Spotify that aren't curated by humans at Spotify, but rather by different algorithms at Spotify. And there are about 5 of these different types of playlists that you can look into at a bare level. One is Discover Weekly. So this updates every Monday. It's about 20 to 30 new songs. I want to say that Spotify goes ahead and puts in front of you that you haven't listened to yet. The second is Release Radar, which is I call it Spotify's answer to the SoundCloud news feed, where anyone that you end up following on Spotify, if they release new music, it's going to appear in your Release Radar playlists. The third playlist is Dailymix. There are anywhere between 4 to 6, I want to say. Last time it was 4, but I think they've increased it to 6. These are genre-based playlists that update, unsurprisingly, on a daily basis, where Spotify is putting both music that you've effectively listened to in the past, plus new music in front of you as well to try to create a good listening experience. And then beyond that, there's on repeat and repeat rewind, which is Spotify saying, look, if you've listened to these songs a lot in the past or recently, let's keep listening to them. And the last is radio at both the song level and the artist level. Now, what I want to highlight about these algorithmic playlists, or why I believe that this is like the best shot for long-term growth on the platform, is that it's in Spotify's like financial best interest, basically, to increase the amount of time that you spend on the app to try to maximize the number of hours per day that you're listening to music on Spotify. And the way that they can do that is by ensuring that for each next song that a fan ends up listening to, it's a song that they really like, which means that Spotify is always going to try to recommend what's popular and what's a good fit for that particular fan. Because their business model is predicated on 2 things. We'll assume 3 with podcasts, but at least it has in the past been predicated on 2 things. One is subscription revenue, right? So how frequently or how long can you get someone to pay, your 10 to $15 a month to keep subscribing to a monthly listening service on Spotify? And you're only really going to keep subscribing if you're getting value out of the service, which means that every next song that you end up, playing is a banger. Now, the second element, and this is where things get a little bit more intricate, is their ad business, right? Spotify has to basically serve ads to these freemium users and take that ad inventory and make sure that a brand serves their ad to them. The only way that Spotify can create that ad inventory is if there's a spot between 2 songs to put it in, which means that for the premium users, Spotify's whole game is how do we make sure that these freemium users keep listening so that we can serve them ads. What this means, or bringing it all back to independent artists, is that it doesn't matter how big you are or how many streams you've had in the past. All that matters is that people are actually streaming your catalog on a recent basis. So our hack is this tool called the Spotify Growth Playbook, where you create these 10 to 15 second Instagram stories videos that get served in Instagram stories ads. They serve to all 92 countries that Spotify is available in. We have our own version of Facebook Ads Manager that optimizes your spend and makes sure that you're finding, the fans that are swiping up the best cost possible. And over time, you can actually track your Spotify follower growth. And if you end up going into your Spotify for Artists dashboard, you should also see an increase not only in the number of streams that you're getting on a daily basis, but when you look in that source section at both the artist level and the song level, the number of streams that you are going to be getting from algorithmic playlists should increase over time. We've seen individuals that got 0% of their streams coming from algorithmic playlists jump to 10% or 20%. And that's really what you want to do. You want to build this viral loop of a fan acquisition engine that Spotify is doing for you. You send individuals to your artist profile. You end up becoming more popular on Spotify because you're getting streams across all of your tracks on a more recent basis relative to other artists. Spotify is then going to reward you by putting your music into Discover Weekly, other algorithmic playlists, which is in turn going to introduce you to new fans, which is going to cause that cycle to effectively repeat. So that's what we've been doing with a lot of developing artists on Spotify. You could have less than 50 followers. You could have 10 followers, and it's not unrealistic to double, triple, or 10x your following within 30 to 90 days by doing so. What you do need, though, is you need a small marketing budget, once again, at about $3 to $5 a day, and you need compelling story creative. So you need to have something that actually advertises you as an artist, still includes your song name, but basically is this compelling 10 to 15 second story video. So I think I just spoke for like 4 or 5 minutes straight. Happy to answer any questions.
No, it's all good. I want to do, somebody mentioned in the comments, he said, are they talking to producers or are they talking to artists? And I want to just kind of address that really quick and then get back to our conversation. For the producers that are watching this, this should be just as valuable to you, right? Like you should learn how to market music, because you can do this with your beats, but also you do this with the finished songs that you work with artists. I don't know how you guys are doing your deals, but I know a lot of independent producers and artists are cutting deals where the producer might get 25% of the revenue, coming from Spotify, or 10% or up to 50%. And I think you increase your value and can potentially have more leverage in a negotiation with an artist if you can help out with more than just the beat. If you say, hey, let's just say you have a big following, obviously that gives you leverage. But let's say you just have knowledge, on how to, really make a song go, or to promote a song, on Spotify, or using the ToneDen tools. That gives you leverage because an artist might be paying for that anyway. So that might be in the conversation. So these conversations are not isolated. This is not, hey, this is a producer. I mean, if we were talking about something specific on how to use Fruity Loops or something like that, okay, and an artist is not really interested in making beats, okay, that might be just a producer. So there might be times where it's a producer conversation and it's an artist conversation. But typically, especially in my sessions, this is an everybody conversation because you should be equipping yourself with this knowledge because it's going to add value that eventually is going to translate into more money in your pocket. So it's not a producer conversation. It's not an artist conversation. It's an everybody conversation. It's a manager conversation. It's an aspiring label owner conversation. This is how to make more money with your music. So it's an everybody conversation. So, I don't know exactly who it was that split our conversation like that, but this is for everybody. And I just want to make sure everybody's aware of that. All right, time into our conversation. So where do you have case studies on the site that kind of takes them, somebody more novice that okay, where do I start? This is how I start. This is what I should have in order to start with this. And where are those case studies and what do they look like?
Yeah, so I have a few, although I'm a little bit of a noob with StreamYard, so I'll send you the links and you can go ahead and share them in the chat. Okay. But we have an entire section on our blog with case studies, essentially, that run through basically past results with other types of artists. Some of them are hip hop too, so that'll be relevant for everyone on the stream. And then in terms of how to go ahead and leverage this Spotify growth playbook that I was talking about, so the specific feature where you can go ahead and get more followers on Spotify, Everything that you need to do to learn how to utilize this feature is available in the other link that I just shot over, which is the help doc for Spotify Playbook overview. And in that, there are basically step-by-step like videos, not only on how to build out like the 10 to 15 second Instagram story creative, but how you should be thinking about targeting. And I think more importantly, why the strategy works. So we actually link to something called the Spotify promotion guide in here, which I would recommend everyone reads as well in those support docs, because I think a lot of this is, okay, part of it's about like, I want to show individuals how to go ahead and utilize my tools, but I think it really is more important to just understand like how the Spotify ecosystem works and why you should be paying attention to Spotify. I know that there are like, probably what at least a dozen streaming platforms there, and they all kind of have their different niches, I want to say. But if your goal is to, get signed in the, get a record label deal, essentially, I think Spotify has to be within like that realm of streaming services that you pay attention to. And it's not, necessarily like I just woke up one day and decided that I liked Spotify. This is coming from like years of trying to figure out what someone in the music industry would be willing to pay for a marketing solution. And the only thing that we were really able to nail in on was the fact that people really care about growing on Spotify. And I think it has to do with just the limited options that you have to grow and the lack of transparency. Spotify's done a really great job of controlling the distribution on their platform because it gives them leverage, right? Instead of them getting pushed around by all the major record labels, they still do to a certain extent because they need to pay on the licensing fees in order to have their music on there. But by controlling the largest playlists on the platform, they're able to at least have some leverage over major labels to say, hey, look, we will include your artists on our playlist, but make sure to be nice to us. But on that end, it kind of makes things very challenging for developing artists, right? If you want to get more streams on Spotify, you either have to figure out on your own how to just direct individuals back to your Spotify artist profile, or you're stuck dealing with a bunch of really shady playlist brokers where you might end up once again getting those streams, but the next thing you know, your account at Spotify has been banned. Or you get those streams and they're effectively fake, and then 6 months later, all of a sudden the 5,000 followers that you have drops down to 2,500 because they were all fake. And that's something that I see happen all the time. So instead, what we've been trying to promote are these best practices for advertising to Spotify by leveraging two of the most popular social media platforms out there, which are Facebook and Instagram, but really focusing on Instagram right now. And the nice thing is that this is accretive, right? So when you end up basically using the Spotify Growth Playbook, not only are you going to get more Spotify followers, which is going to help you market your music, but you get more Instagram followers in the process too. And depending on the kind of content that you're pushing out, that could be beneficial in a lot of ways. Like if you're actually moving merch, or if you're actually doing paid live streams, you are able to, with our version of Facebook Ads Manager, directly advertise to those individuals. So this is it's kind of creepy, but it's great for marketing purposes. On Facebook, there's these things called custom audiences, basically, which allow you to advertise to specific individuals on Facebook and Instagram. When I say Facebook, guys, I mean Facebook and Instagram interchanged, because they're both the same company. They're both owned by the same parent org, which is Facebook. And anyone, I mean, there are a variety of different audiences, but basically anyone that has come across your Facebook profile, anyone that has come across your Instagram profile, you can hit them with ads. And that's how, once again, I think I said this before, but I really want to hammer the point home. That's how promoters make money, right? Like they'll book an act, and then they'll make sure that enough people show up to the concert by creating a Facebook and Instagram advertising campaign, targeting that artist's fans in that particular market. So the more that you end up actually cultivating this social media following on your own through something like paid advertising, it certainly helps your partners. Like the next time you end up getting booked for an event, you're able to hit those individuals. If you end up getting signed by a label and the label wants to throw down on your marketing, they're able to target those individuals as well. Or if you want to go, direct D2C, let's say that you end up deciding you want to start a subscription service with Patreon, or let's say that you want to do a merch offering, or let's say that you've got new music out and you want to make sure that your existing fans are actually going to listen to it. That's a great way to do it. That's not going to break the bank for you. So those individuals that have engaged with you are really, really likely to buy. And that's, I'd say, like the third most popular tool on our platform is the Facebook and Instagram advertising after the smart links and the Spotify Growth Playbook. Because if you want to do some kind of basic out now campaign, for instance, Or if you want to create something called a pre-save, which I'll get into in a hot minute, and make sure that those individuals end up getting in front of you, instead of needing to go through Ads Manager, which was made for like every single kind of advertiser on the planet, namely a VP of marketing at Coca-Cola with a Harvard MBA who's got $1 million to drop. We've instead made something for your average artist or producer that can only really afford $3 to $5 a day in terms of actually being able to get in front of fans. And that's something where, once again, in like all of those help docs, there is, and I'll link a different one here. We have an entire music marketing guide, and I'll go ahead and share this with you as well, Dame, where you can go in and not only learn our thoughts about marketing and how to go ahead and plan your budget for a single, an EP, or an album, but we'll talk about the different tools in our platform and how to actually use them. So all of that's available there as well. Hopefully that helps. Now I know I'm getting a little bit all over the place here, but we've spoken about smart links. We've spoken about our Spotify growth playbook, which is, I think, really where a lot of the attention for individuals watching this this call should be spent. And the third is our ads platform. The fourth is our pre-save tool. And it's funny because, like, what is it? History repeats itself, but it doesn't match exactly. It rhymes. I think I've ruined that quote. It doesn't look exactly the same, but it certainly rhymes. There we go. And on that end, I'm seeing the rebirth of like a traditional pre-order that you'd make if you were ordering a CD or a vinyl album come in the form of a pre-save. So both Spotify, you can do this on Spotify, Apple, Tidal, and Deezer. We focus once again on Spotify and Apple Music just because those are two of the biggest platforms that, the music industry, at least in North America, pays attention to. And the idea there is, let's send individuals towards a landing page. Let's ask them if they want to add this song to their collection right when the song comes out. And when they opt in, we'll basically do two things. One, we will grab their email so that you can notify them again. And then two, we'll ask them to sync up their Spotify account to our app so that we can remember to make that save action for them. And then the day that that song is released, we'll automatically remind that fan with an email to actually go through and stream the track. But more importantly, because that song is in the collection on Spotify or Apple Music, that's really where you're going to get the majority of your streams, So like if you were to go into your Spotify for Artists section, and everyone's welcome to do this on the call, if you end up clicking on the music tab and click into any of your songs, you'll be able to see on a rolling 28-day basis where the majority of your streams are coming from. And while it might look different for certain artists, on the whole or on average, what we've seen is that 50 to 60% of streams on a particular song usually end up coming from this source called listeners' own playlist, which is a fancy way of saying you're getting the majority of streams from individuals who are playing from their liked songs playlist on Spotify. Once they end up pressing that heart button, it's entering their general streaming behavior, whether it is them going ahead and listening to that song while they're commuting on the way to work, or it's effectively them listening to that music when they're going ahead and working out. People while they do like discovering new music, they like listening to stuff they've already vetted beforehand. Right. So once again, a lot of the reason why we're really bullish about remarketing here in general is that we've seen that not only are the people that have engaged with you in the past going to be really likely to go ahead and buy things from you, whether it's merch or tickets, but that's actually where you make the bulk of your streams, which is counterintuitive because you'd normally think that it's by like getting in front of a ton of new people, and that certainly plays a part of it, but remarketing is equally as important there.
No, so yeah, I mean, I think ultimately, obviously playlists are great, but I've said this several times. I feel like the desire or the just kind of the thirstiness for playlists has kind of been overblown. Like the artists that I see that make a lot of money streaming, they've built a very strong following that goes to their music, adds it to their own playlist, or goes directly to their profile and just plays it over and over again. And I think at least the artists that I know that make a lot of money streaming, that's where it's at. They get playlist love, here and there, but the bulk of the listening is direct from the fans that go there specifically for their music. Another thing that you touched on, and I know nobody's touring right now, but I have definitely done shows in the past where we just rent out the venue and did the marketing ourselves because I felt like we would do a way better job than the promoter, right? A lot of times these promoters, like the most that they do is to remind us repeatedly to promote on our own platforms, right? So the artists and the comedians that I work with, we're always focused on trying to get as much data as possible. It's a little more heavy lifting if you're going on a longer tour to book, venues in all these different cities across the country, but you're going to make a lot more money if you do have that capability and just rent out the venue and just do the marketing yourself, because a lot of these promoters don't, a lot of them don't promote really. And then if they do, they're doing what you can do yourself, probably better if you know how to do it. So understand the importance of data, learn Facebook marketing, and there's a lot that you can do on your own. Like, I'm not a fan of like cutting, because sometimes people get too crazy and say you got to cut out the middlemen. And some middlemen are important. Some middlemen add a lot of value, and you cut out the wrong person, you're like, damn, I didn't know that person added that much value. But when it comes to promotion at certain levels, like a lot of that stuff you can do on your own, and sometimes better. So I don't just frivolously say cut out everybody and do everything yourself, but that specifically, I've seen it, us make a lot more money on shows that we just promoted and did ourselves. Where was I at? So you guys also have a few other tools. I want to talk about contesting a little bit because, there's an art and a science behind it. I believe you guys have a contesting tool. Can you kind of describe like what that contesting tool does and how artists are using it?
Yeah. So if you have physical items or tickets or something to give away, like a private Zoom call, for instance, you can create a contest landing page on ToneDen where fans enter by submitting their email. And then if they want to gain more entries in the contest, they can perform separate actions in order to get more. So they can do things like follow your artist profile on Spotify, follow your Spotify playlist, add your, album from Apple Music to their Apple Music list. They can follow you on Twitter, share the contest on Facebook, and a few other interactions. And what we've noticed is that by making the process fun for fans, because we have these like different emoji levels that people reach as they perform more actions, we're able to get a lot more than just emails from fans. You end up getting a ton of social engagement on top of it. On average, I've seen about 40% of the people that enter a contest do everything involved. So let's say you get 1,000 people to enter the contest, that's 1,000 emails. But then you should also be getting 400 Spotify follows, 400 Spotify saves, 400 shares to Facebook, 400 new Twitter subscribers, and so forth. So it's just a great way to make sure that you're getting a lot more out of whatever that giveaway is. I've seen it work better for larger artists that already have an established following, or for artists that are going through and touring. By and large, vinyl t-shirts and tickets have done the best comparatively for prizes. What I don't see work, and this is a little bit ironic, is these like really expensive prizes, like $10,000 flyaway to Las Vegas or something like that. You would have been better off basically taking that $10,000 prize and instead spending a fraction of it on marketing instead. So it's not necessarily about having this big grandiose prize to get people interested. A lot of it really is just making sure that, once again, that contest is getting in front of enough people, which is where the Facebook and Instagram ads platform comes in.
Right. And when you're running contests, I mean, this might be for an artist that has like existing fans that really maybe would have followed anyway. They just haven't, right? So some of the things you're asking them to do, like they wanted to do anyway, they just haven't yet. They haven't been reminded to follow you on, on Spotify or to pre-save a song or something like that. Because the danger you run into, like, let's just say you have a $10,000 prize and that's how you're incentivizing people to do stuff. Like they're not really fans of you. Like they're incentivized to try to get that $10,000. So you still might get a lot of people participating, but these aren't necessarily fans. And that could mess up your data a little bit, or a lot of it sometimes. So you do have to be mindful and careful sometimes when running these contests, because you know, they are powerful and they do provide some fun for your fans, but you just have to make sure you're incentivizing, you know, folks the right way. You're attracting the right audience.
Yeah.
Cool. And then you guys also have a live streaming tool, right? Can you I don't even know how that one works because I don't think
No, it's perfectly fine. So one of the things that we built over at ToneDen is this tool called a Streamlink, essentially. And I'll actually link you to an example here for our weekly Spotify webinar. And you can share that with individuals just so they get an example of what it effectively looks like. So the idea is, let's create this universal landing page for your live streams. We're going to get SMS in here soon, Dame. I'm inspired by how often you're using text messaging in your marketing. And the idea is, let's create this universal landing page for your live streams where you can send fans there and they can choose to RSVP and get notified, you know, anytime you're really going live. So we'll get 2 reminders. One reminder will be 24 hours before the stream occurs, and then another will be 30 minutes before the stream occurs with a link to go ahead and watch the streams. Now, what's unavailable in the thing that I linked is the thing that I linked only shows one platform. But let's say that you're simulcasting and you're streaming on multiple platforms. You're streaming on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, for instance, at the same time. You can include in multiple streaming services, and then your fans can choose which streaming service or which video service, they would want to watch the live stream on. And what I found is that this solves something called the zero viewer problem, for lack of a better word on that end. I mean, you're already familiar with this because you've been streaming for a while, but when you first start out streaming, usually whatever streaming platform that you're using, whether it's a Streamlabs OBS or StreamYard or Restream, there are a million of them out there. You usually see this giant, number that says 0 viewers. And you're like, man, I planned this entire, conversation or this entire presentation or this entire show, and no one's really there. And I don't think it's because people aren't interested in the kind of content that you're putting out. It's just they don't know when the stream's happening. So the idea is, let's go ahead and actually, nudge people that your event's going to happen and make sure that they end up showing up and then also coming back. So if they did end up enjoying your show because you end up having their email, we're able to basically hit them again and say, look, why don't you remember to attend the next one too? So that's Streamlinks in a nutshell.
So I should be using Streamlink for this for this Monday show.
Yeah. Well, it's my fault for not reminding you. Things got a little bit hectic this weekend, so we could talk about them afterwards. You also need to get phone numbers in for you too, because that seems to be pretty important. But yes.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna look into that for next Monday. So I wanna open it up for questions with the time that we have left. I know people are watching on different platforms. But if you just type your question into the comment section, I'm going to grab a few of them. I'm not sure how many questions there's going to be, and I can't promise to get to all of them, but I'll pick a few out and we'll address them. So just type your questions into the comments, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube or Periscope or Twitch. And then I'll grab a couple. So I'll wait a second or two, because I know I saw some questions prior while I was just, while I was asking my own questions. But there's been so many comments, and I'm going to hesitate to scroll back up through the comments to find the questions. I know somebody just asked, like, what could because a lot of the, obviously BeatStars community, a lot of people are producers, and from a contesting perspective, what that might look like. I'm not sure if you have any suggestions on, what a producer might do or how they might incentivize folks to run a contest using the platform.
You could offer a free one-on-one session with Zoom to offer feedback on someone's music. That could be interesting. So trying to cultivate an artist following in that way, where if someone really does like the way that you make music, they'd be curious about learning what you do, and you could do a session with them. I'm seeing a lot of success in like the education space in general. Like when I look on Twitch, for instance, and see artists that have 300 or 400 people viewing those streams continuously, some of it's fans, but a lot of it's really just artists interested in learning from other artists. And for those that are trying to make money off of selling their beats, trying to cultivate that following could be helpful. So that's one idea that I have. But usually the two things that perform the best are merch and tickets from what I've seen.
Yeah, I think producers just need to focus more. There's an opportunity to just brand yourself way better, and we've talked about this before. I think producers historically have kind of just played the background, and maybe that's your personality and maybe that's where you want to be. But I think especially these days with the tools that we have available, there's much more of an opportunity to be promote yourself more like an artist does, and have a brand and a presence and merch and a perspective and a voice that people want to hear from. So I would encourage producers to start building more of a platform. I know with with BeatStars distribution, encourage you guys to put your instrumentals on Spotify so that you're starting to create a presence on Spotify, because I know that there are actually some producers that do well, that the instrumentals stream pretty well on streaming services. So again, a lot of this stuff that we're talking about is not just for artists, it's for you guys as well. Let me see. There was a few of them. See, Tom CB says, if I want to start a challenge, what would you recommend starting? I'm not sure what kind of challenge you're talking about, Tom. This is just a general marketing question. I'm not sure if you have any thoughts on this, but he says, I sometimes see artists delete all their posts on IG before or when they're announcing a new drop. Is this a good marketing tool for smaller or established artists? Do you have any thoughts on that? You know how artists will delete everything and maybe just have whatever they're promoting on their page?
I mean, I would, if the content's not like relevant and it's not in line with what your brand is now, I would likely take it out. But I've actually seen that basically having old content in there helps, especially content that's good and looks and is representative of your brand. Because ideally, the most successful way that I've seen independent artists grow that are pretty much starting from nothing is you take $3 to $5 a day, create a great Instagram stories ad that's 10 to 15 seconds and video based, and then you run it through the Spotify Growth Playbook. And ideally, while this is running, you're doing two things. One, you're updating your Instagram on a semi-consistent basis so that any new fans that end up coming across your profile end up seeing content like on a weekly basis to make sure that like you're actually active as an artist. But then two, you're working on new content on Spotify too, so that 6 or 12 or 18 weeks, some kind of rotation that looks like that, you end up releasing new music on Spotify. And because you have more Spotify followers than you did previously, you're going to end up appearing in more release radar playlists, which gets you more streams right out the gates, which in turn ends up getting you in Discover Weekly and causes that viral loop to occur. So I think that you're actually better off continuously putting out content on Instagram as long as it's high quality. So I hope that answers your question. One other thing too, Dame, I'm going to link you something in the private chat. We have a free kind of course, music marketing course over at ToneDen Academy that everyone can check out. It not only runs through basically everything that I've spoken about Spotify promotion in general, how their algorithms work and in response to like third-party playlisting and algorithmic playlisting and all that. But I run through how to go ahead and utilize like Facebook Ads Manager, for instance, or how to create a smart link. So I think if you're looking for marketing theory, you can check out all those free courses. There are about 50 of them, and you'll get a pretty solid idea of how to market your music online.
Cool. I just posted that link in the chat, so you guys should see that. Somebody also said, this is probably a dumb question, but does it cost to use these services at ToneDen, and how much do packages or services range from?
Yeah, so there are a ton of free tools on ToneDen that you can use. So one of our most popular tools is fan links, and those are free. So that's a great way for you to create a universal landing page for your song and then make sure that fans can choose to go between SoundCloud, YouTube, or whatnot. So if you haven't created a music smart link or a fan link for your music yet, please go over to ToneDen and go ahead and create one right now. You won't regret it. For our advertising tools, they range anywhere between $50 to $100 a month. The Spotify Growth Playbook starts at $100 a month, but you get a free trial essentially. So everyone that comes to the service gets a 7-day free trial. You still need to spend the same amount of money that you would on Facebook and Instagram, but there's no platform fee. So if you end up creating an account for ToneDen right now and check out the Spotify Growth Playbook, you'll be able to basically test that campaign out before making a decision on whether you'd want to continuously use it. And once again, guys, if you end up going to like ToneDen Academy, for instance, or if you end up signing up for the service, everything that you need in order to create a successful campaign, we provide. You'll probably be sick of hearing my voice after checking out all the docs because there are hours and hours of video content there. But I think you'll really enjoy it.
Cool. Let me see. When I post, I guess it shows up 4 times in my comment section. So I just posted like twice. So I'm seeing a bunch of my own comments. Let's see. All right, we'll answer a couple more and then we'll wrap it up. Let's see. Hold on. Let me see. Quick question. It said using your platform for ads. One of my ads just went live in Facebook. It says that the ad cannot be previewed on mobile because it's desktop only. With everyone using mobile, why is this?
If you log into ToneDen and just hit that help button in the top right corner, Bird, this support bubble pop up. Just copy and paste that to our engineering team, and they'll be able to get back to you. It's probably a bug. We'll be able to fix it though.
Somebody says, are these services integrated with BeatStars? They should be. We should talk about that.
Yeah,
we should link up with Abe and talk about it. But I also want to say, like, you guys have to make sure your music is good before this stuff works as well as it can work, right? Like, these are tools that are available to you. These are not to make up for music that nobody wants to hear yet, right? So as long as you're comfortable with where you guys are at and confident that, you know, that the music you're putting out is the best that you can present, you know, because there's no tool that's gonna like push really bad music. So just make sure that you're ready, especially before you start spending a lot of money, right? You know, and I think that's the cool thing about Facebook ads is that you can test with very small dollar amounts, you know, but make sure you guys are continuing to put in your 10,000 hours and perfecting your craft. So, and I'm not talking about anybody specifically because I don't know you guys. I'm not saying, I'm just saying in general, you know, don't waste your money. Let's see. So he said, are you claiming my beats are trash? I have no idea.
There was a question around what kind of creatives have you seen work the best, and I want to send you one more link. We're constantly updating this, but any creative that helps people get Spotify followers at less than $1, I'm usually all about. And I have a bunch of different examples by genre here, so I'll go ahead and send that to you because I'm a StreamYard noob. But there are a ton of different examples for you know, hip hop and rap, R&B, dance music. We'll be adding in more too. We also show videos on how to create this. We'll be updating that very soon as well, because there are just a lot of different free video editing tools out there that just blow my mind in terms of creating really high quality creative for free. So I will keep everyone posted on those.
Yes, I posted a lot of links during this session. Everything's available on the ToneDen website. They were just specific links to specific things, but you can find everything on the ToneDen website. So I apologize for spamming our own comment section with so many links, but hopefully you guys save those and visit them as you guys have time so that you guys can learn. And what's dope is it's not like super like salesy. Of course, you know, ToneDen is a platform that has tools for you guys, but you can learn a lot just about marketing in general from a lot of their resources. So definitely check them out. Okay, well, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this session up. Ali, thank you very much.
Thanks, Sam,
for joining us once again. I'm sure I'll be in touch and maybe we can, you know, follow up on that conversation about possibly getting some type of ToneDen BeatStars connection going in the future, or some kind of integration. I'm not sure.
That'd be great. We have a few ideas, so I'll send them your way.
Dope. All right, you guys. Payne has a
everyone.
Payne has a session on Thursday, same time, and as always, I have no idea what he's going to be talking about. So I failed once again on educating myself on what his session is going to be. So I can't promote it, but I know it's going to be dope and it's going to be informative. So tap in Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern. And then next Monday, I believe it's Jason Grishkoff, the founder of Submit Hub. So we'll be speaking with him. So thank you guys. I'll see y'all later. Peace.
Cool.